Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on December 30th, 2021 at approximately 3:28 a.m. PST. That's 328. As we can tell, things are going to be interestingly annoying. However, we are winding things down to the last couple of days of the year. And this is why I'm looking at going, okay, 2021 has been a bit of a scramble. Okay, a lot of changes have happened, but the biggest change in my eyes, okay, much more on a personal level, is my change in my outlook on me. Okay, and this is where it is important from your standpoint. Now, first and foremost, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share the daylights out of the thing, because I was returned to this world for one reason, for one primary message, and that is to say that, to let everybody in existence know that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, there are going to be people upset, absolutely. Okay, and I'm going to throw a little bit of a wrench into things, but we'll get to that in a little while. Before the end of this video, and I did this before, so I'm going to make my absolute certain best to do it this time. But at the end of this video, I'm going to tackle the issue of alien exposure and religion and where that stands from my standpoint. Okay, and we will get to that in a little while. But first and foremost, everybody is in exactly the same place. We are all right here, right now. And this is the only time in existence that anybody can ever get anything accomplished. You cannot go back in time to change things. You cannot, you cannot unsay things you've already said. Okay, basically the past is the past. And destroying artifacts will not change the fact that the past is the past. Destroying artifacts, destroying art, destroying sculptures and what have you, will not alter the events that came before them. It will not alter the reason that these works of art were put together. Okay. Now, I've thought long and hard about the whole situation I'm dealing with. Okay. And you may well be dealing with the same thing. I got finances straightened out at the beginning of the year, but I was so worried about making other people content that I lost track of the reality of what had to happen. So what I'm doing, okay, is I'm getting myself on track for 2 days from now. 2 days from now is a brand new year altogether. Okay, and the only reason I'm giving myself those 2 days is because, frankly, it's easier than trying to get everything done today. So it gives me a deadline I can work with. But I came to the conclusion I'm not making excuses for my past, because the reality is your past is your past. Everything you did in the past, whether it was good or bad, is what made you what you are today. But what you do from here on forward is of critical import to you. Okay. Now is the time to be absolutely honest with those around you. Okay, now you're not going to make everybody happy. You're probably going to have some conflicts of emotion while you're doing this. But since no one can change what their past is, okay, I made some mistakes myself. But I made some pretty good revelations in my eyes. So, when we take a look in the mirror, look at yourself, and really go, am I content with me? Am I content with the way my life is going? Okay. Now, it will take time to get into the habit of changing things. Now, the reality of it is, even when you break a situation, even when you break out of an old habit, okay, for me, when I was drinking heavily, it took me a month and a half to break that cycle. Okay, and maybe one day I'll explain how that went about without using the names of people involved. But once you make a commitment to yourself, and this is the critical issue that I'm really hoping people take to heart, make a commitment to yourself. Forget everybody else. Okay, for the moment. Make a commitment to yourself that you're going to change things for you. This is where the real change has to happen. And the only time it happens is when it's for you. Now, finances, and I've talked about this a lot in the last little while, but we're going to get really sidetracked in the next couple of days and go into some other fringe elements, if you will. Which brings to mind the years ago when BBSs were the in thing. I used to be on a BBS called The Fringe. Okay, fantastic group of people. Okay, by the way, because of the fact that I've been working in the consulting field, quite frankly, since birth. Okay, but it became public knowledge when I was 10 years old. I've been working consulting people, answering questions regarding relationships, regarding business, regarding aliens, UFOs, religion, the whole 9 yards. Okay. And I'd love to hear your comments below. I will do my best to get back to them. To get back to you on them. Okay. Now, the funny thing about it is we've got 2 days left in 2021. It is your choice whether 2022 is going to be better or worse. Okay. Now, I've avoided watching the news for a lot of reasons, and yet I still get handed what's going on in the news. The thing I will say in a positive venue is that the changes that have taken place regarding social media. 6 months ago, every time I turned around, there was who shot who ripped who off, who was trying to embarrass who. Now, I don't spend a lot of time scanning through Facebook or that. I do a little bit of scanning because, well, that's where I get my connections. But I have noticed in the last 6 months there has been a marked decline in who ripped who off type postings. Most of them are much more focused on the idea of who helped who. Here's animals helping animals. And this is what brings to mind the idea that working together, we can make this a better world. Okay. Now, there will be some people upset. The reality behind it, from my standpoint, is this. Take dominant control of your own life, of your own desires. Remember, 3 karmic laws, and these are the only 3 laws I bother with, but you'll find all of the ones you follow fall into these 3. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. Now, I should have said, in all likelihood, you will find all of the laws you follow fall into those 3. I may be wrong, and I would love to hear if you find a law or a guideline in any field. Okay, in any field. Absolutely, drop me a line below because I'm looking for that flaw. Thus far, I haven't found it. Now, I'm not talking about the laws of physics and the laws of chemistry. I'm talking the social ones. Because the laws of chemistry, I don't care how nice you are to hydrogen atoms, they're still going to blow up. Okay. Viri are not, viruses are not going to worry about who you voted for. They're not going to worry about, they're not going to worry about how much money you've got in the bank or who you're calling into bed with. Forest fires, nature itself doesn't care. It doesn't differentiate. Okay, now with this in mind, it is absolutely imperative that we start focusing on the positive side of things. Start focusing on what is going on with this world, what we can do as individuals to alter it. And the trick to that to start with is to take a look inside your own life. Take a look inside your own heart. Are you content with the way your life is going? If the answer is no, it is time to start shifting it. Okay. Now, this does not mean, this means shift the negative side to the positive. This does not require war. War has never, in all of recorded history that I can recall, war has never brought peace. Okay. War has never brought, it's never brought a positive outcome. Okay, well, I shouldn't say that because it does bring quiet. Problem with quiet being brought about by war is you can bet if society continues building laws that do not apply to everybody, society will fracture. Now, of course, when this whole COVID thing came out, society got split again. Because not only is there conflicting information coming from so-called professionals that are completely diametrically opposed to the others. Now, science is simple in my eyes. If everybody is using the same method, then if it's scientifically sound, the answer will be the same. That is not what is happening here. Statistics are being used to manipulate a lot of things, but let's understand something. The governments of the world are required. It would be nice if they got along. Okay, but again, we have this problem with the governments operating out of a fear base. Now, government originally the reserves and the combat people, which by the way, I've got a lot of respect for veterans and for the active people in the militaries around the world. I have serious questions about their motivations and directions from higher up. But protection started when people first started to arm themselves. It was to protect their neighbors. This is what many of the people in the militaries do. They get into the military to protect their neighbors. Now, normally, at the beginning of it all, these neighbors were wild animals. Okay. Now what we've got is, frankly, and understand something, given three categories of vegetable, mineral, and animal, we now have people protecting themselves from civilized animals. So-called civilized. The way the human race is treating each other is anything but civilized in my eyes. Like, I have frankly not seen this much greed and debauchery since Sodom and Gomorrah. I have not seen this much aggression, unbridled aggression, since Attila the Hun. And if you want a little bit more focused aggression, take a look at the Roman Empire. That was fun. Spent a lot of years there. Okay. Now, of course, I remember my past lives. A lot of them. And I am in the process of documenting them. Of course, I'm in the process of writing a lot of things, which I will get to on another day. But you take a look at it. Now, the backbone of any house is the finances. Backbone of any business, backbone of any religion. And I know the religious people are probably going to have a heyday with that one. The backbone of any government is finance, which, by the way, boils down to barter. But we have to realize an honest day's pay for an honest day's work. And for an honest day's work. Okay. No matter where you are in this world, as far as personal value goes, as far as spiritual value goes, you're all equal. Nobody is better than I am. Nobody is worse than I am. Yes, you've got different circumstances. I mean, I'm lucky in a lot of ways. But I didn't get that way by sitting around and going, I pray things are going to change. I mean, I did my fair share of praying, but it dawned on me something very important. All the prayers in the world don't help if you don't make the changes and don't do the physical work. Okay, prayers are based on belief. And that is part of the issue here. For you to become successful, it requires, and this is across the board, no matter what you're aiming at. Okay, success equals belief plus focused effort. You can pray all you want, but if you don't get off your tail feathers and start treating each other equally, the world's not going to change. Now, people talk about desiring things to change, and of course, when it comes to COVID, people are talking about, we're done with it. Well, and that's a great idea. I'm glad people are done with it. I really am. The problem is that COVID isn't done with people. Okay. And you're going to love this one because the way to bring COVID back into balance is, frankly, in my opinion, change the way you're behaving to people. Okay. Now, it's already a proven fact. Scientists have proven this one, that negative energy will have a negative impact on plants. Okay. Your stress level, if you've got pets, you've seen it. If you're being really agitated, your pets are going to be acting up. Okay. If you're being problematic, your parents are going to have a problem. And if the parents are being the problem, the kids are going to create problems. Thereby, the more negative we have, and this is why you minimize the negative and you maximize the positive. Okay. Very important that you get that straight. Because the more we focus on negative, the more disjointed things will get, and the more complicated things get. Now, you've got a choice. Society is on a path that is leading to disaster if it stays on the negative front. Okay. Now, we were all born with free will. We were all gifted free will, irrevocable by anybody in existence. Okay. You have free will. However, you still have to deal with the consequences of your actions or the consequences of your words. If you tell people often enough they are idiots, they will start behaving like idiots. Take a look at the modern world. The education system has collapsed. People are graduating without any idea at all how to function in society. No idea. They cannot read. They cannot do math. Yes, there are ones that come out that can. But those are self-motivated, self-driven people on the whole. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm laying out a plan, and I've got a message to send to somebody to lay it out. And what I had to decide was I don't actually have to explain how I got where I am. I made mistakes. I put focus where I shouldn't have, and the big place I put focus where I shouldn't have is in trying to compensate for what I worried that other people were going to think. Okay, so I had to come to the conclusion yesterday. I'm not going to explain it. It's going to be, here's the plan I'm working on. This is what the plan is. This is the logical thing that I'm doing. Now, a lot of the reason for laying out the plan, and this is where that issue of lists come in, but the logical reason for putting the plan together is so that I can follow it. Remember that thing about belief plus focused effort? That's where this changes. I'm going to put that together and send it off to the individual that I've chosen to send it off to. Actually, in all fairness, I'm going to be sending it off to 2 people and talking to a couple that are very close to me that they deserve to know. In my eyes, this is freedom of choice on my part. This is just simply to get it together, but putting the plan together is very simple. Okay, by putting the plan together on paper, and I do intend to document it, and this only literally just came to mind, I'm going to document the path that I'm using. Then I will put that together in a booklet so that people can take a look at it one step at a time and go, this is where it started, this is how it changed, and thereby the complicated process that I'm going to be using, I can lay out so other people can replicate it. This is the idea of, I build myself as a spiritual guide. And this is the idea. Now, I will tell you, this book I'm going to start writing, in all likelihood, well, I've got to start writing it today because that's where the process starts. So I'm going to start writing it today, but it won't be ready for at least a year. Okay, which means we're up to 33 books, I think. I got to do a recount on that. Okay, but I'm going to put the plan together, send it to the people I need, and then I've got to work on this frustration level here. because I really do have some complications on it, which is why I don't leave the house much. I find the less people I'm around, the less frustrated I get. Odd. And yet I'm still going to continue doing these videos. Now, I mentioned, and I swore I was not going to let this get away from me, so I'm not. There is something that I caught wind of on Facebook today, on Twitter, on YouTube. There is something going on. Apparently, many of the governments are now turning to the religious leaders to discuss this whole idea of disclosure about aliens. Now, I've been dealing with aliens literally since the day I was born. I was actually dealing with them in utero, but that's a long drawn out story. The point being, whether you believe in aliens and non-human entities, whether you believe it's real or all fabricated, isn't the relevant point. What is the relevant point is it is a major subculture of what's going on in the world today. Now, they're turning to religion to explain what's going on. Now, here's the thing. In my opinion, do aliens exist? Absolutely. Does God exist? You bet. But here's the funny thing. It was said years ago, and I forget who said it. When you push technology forward far enough, there is little difference between it and magic. Well, if you take a Bic lighter, and I don't have one handy, and I don't remember where I put mine, because, well, frankly, I don't smoke. If you take a Bic lighter and you conceal it in your hand, okay, you conceal the thing in your hand, and you go to the Congo, into the outback, in amongst primitive people, and you hold this thing concealed in your hand, and you go, hocus pocus, fire, and you click it, and up pops this flame. You're now a god. Now, do understand, technology does work that way, but when you take a look at when you start comparing the reality of religion, of existence, compare the superstructure of a cell, and I mean the subatomic superstructure, and the superstructure of the universe as we know it. Okay, look at all of it, and you'll find similarities that are so intricately connected that we have to understand that pure evolution would be really hard to pin down without some guidance. Okay, it would also be, it will work itself. There is a saying that life will find a way. But here's the thing with aliens. If you take a look at it, when they start pushing the idea of, oh, we've held this back, they held information back about the existence of these other entities. Because, in my opinion, humans are so aggressive and so fear-based by their own doing, by the way, by your ancestors' doing. People have gotten extremely fear-based. Okay, so it was held back from you. Now, whether that was right, wrong, or indifferent, think of it this way. People in today's world have this problem. They look at dark-skinned people. If you're Caucasian, you may be looking at dark-skinned people or people from a different country going, oh, they're bad people because they're different. Well, as my father used to say, this would be a real boring place if everybody was the same. But humans look at people and they will find anything that is different and use that as a fear base. Take a look at religion. Okay, religion fractures. Religion fractures because people don't agree with everything that is said. Now understand, and you can prove this for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Take a look at the Bible. Pick one Bible, whatever Bible you choose. Pick one Bible. Take a look into the past. Okay, get another Bible from several years earlier. Okay, the same Bible. Okay, and compare. If you find one word that is different, it's been altered. It's no longer the original works. Now understand, I've seen this myself with English to English. Picture what happens when you take an extinct language and you turn around and you compare it to the translations into the modern world. Well, when religion first started to come to play, they didn't have computers. They didn't have, airplanes. They just didn't exist. So there is no way they were going to look at them. Well, that's not entirely correct. But the general populace didn't have the words to accommodate these things. So when we start talking about what is this revelation, we have aliens on the planet in existence working with people. Okay. Now I've been dealing with these things for quite, I was going to say centuries, which technically is correct, but this lifetime has only been 58 years. But when we take a look at this, you take that. Now, like I said, humans have this thing. If you're a different skin color, that makes you a lesser person, is the way people seem to treat each other. They do the same thing with hair color. Okay, but picture what happens. If you have troubles with skin color, can you picture the problem you're going to have with an 8-foot reptile walking down the street? Okay, when you start looking at that, you start looking at an interesting situation. Here we have an 8-foot reptile walking down the street. Now that gets bad enough. When you start, now that would be, you could be looking at Srizazian, you could be looking at Teklek, you could be looking at Chitawari. Okay, and quite a number of others. And those are just reptilians. Not all the same height, by the way. But if all of a sudden this door was to be opened, religion that says mankind is the backbone, religion gets turned on its ear. Okay, and all of a sudden you start looking at the books that start talking out at the different tomes. Most religions have some sort of an idea of this is what the end times will look like. I like the way that one chap I knew put it. Yes, the world will end in about 5 billion years. Okay, but when you take a look at that, all of a sudden your religious beliefs are going to be challenged beyond belief. Now, this is not to say that religion and aliens cannot coexist. Religions and aliens coexist. Science and magic coexist. And this is where I come in. Okay, and this is a journey that I'm inviting you to follow me on. Okay, when I said working together, we can make this a better world for most people. That means that I can actually explain how these things are connected. How it is possible to have these diametrically opposed outlooks and put them under one roof. Okay, and I am documenting as much of this as I can get away with. But because we're down to the last couple of minutes here, I'm going to bring this to a close. And I will be back again tomorrow. Don't ask me what time. But I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.